On October 26th, there's one more game. I guess you have to put that 12 o'clock. So, I'll have to go.
Surely, eventually, we'll get there. I know. Y'all do it with that regular stuff.
Yes, I just wanted to newspaper and I do really?
I did like the crazy things.
Well, I guess
So, yeah.
he's educated before, I agree. I thought you were going to say you love it. You want to be confident.
Yeah, that's what I think. When I get out, they don't want everybody was still I know. You know what? Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think they have an interest though. I got you. Oh, you need one? Yeah. I'll expect you to make plenty of comments today just for that reason.
Huh?
Plenty of comments from you today just for that reason.
Plenty of comments? All right. I'll get better.
Yeah. I'm counting on it. David Brown, good to see you, brother. And Jennifer. You what?
I said, is that the other group?
Correct. Morning. Alan, would you mind leading us in a word of prayer, please? Sure. We can start a little bit early.
Let's go to God in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this beautiful day and this time of worship together. We ask that you help us to take what we learn here, apply it to our marriages, apply it to our lives, help us to make good decisions, help us to do the right thing, help us to stay on the righteous path. We ask that you also forgive us of our sins, forgive us when we fall short, and we're thankful for Jesus that died on the cross for our sins. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, we're continuing on our class on hedges in lesson 4. Those of you who are hopefully keeping up with your lessons and reading. And a couple of challenges in this book, and I was about to text my Uncle Dennis Friday morning that we've got one whole scriptural reference in this lesson 4. So I was like, wow, okay. So, but the reality is we're still in the first quarter of our series of trying to understand the need for hedges in our marriage and the protection of it. So a lot of our conversation today will be just that. It's drawing on our past experiences, learning from each other, realizing that it can happen, what those mean. I was going to make the joke that I don't really know anything about this topic, but we all know that's very, I got to where I am by flirting with Amy when I first met her at Dollywood. So it was very intentional because even though we work at the same place, our paths would have never really crossed because mine was in shatterproof, bulletproof glass in a bank, working finance, counting money. And if Amy's apartment didn't come to me, I never would have seen her. So in our journey, when she came in, I saw the cute girl bringing me a bag. I said, where does she work? So I pulled out the ticket. I go, okay, I now know where she works. So, you know, but that was kind of how our journey began, right? And I'm sure all of you have one. And I would be interested to know when you first found your spouse, what did you do to grab their attention? And are we still doing it today? Even though you've been married maybe a year, maybe 30, maybe 50, whatever. So, and all of the flirting and all of the dates and all of those things will look different for all of us. Some of us are very romantic, some of us not so much. Some of us do different things. So, but I think the basis for protecting our marriages and is not to be taken lightly. So flirting is a common thing. I'm trying not to get off scale too much on flirting because there's other lessons that gets into touchy, and we'll talk about putting your arm around people and those kind of things. So I'm trying to stay focused to flirting. It sounds a little redundant, but we're just trying to stay true to exactly what this is. The definition says flirting is commonly understood as playful, often romantic or sexual behavior toward another person, typically seeking attraction or interest. So, you know, if you think about when you first were drawn to your spouse, did this idea of flirting, would you call it flirting? Or what did you do to grab or to keep your spouse's attention? Let's start there. Now, men, I know this is uncomfortable for you, but we're going to have to speak up today because we can learn from each other. Because I'm not going to do it the way you're going to do it or anything else, but we can learn the reasons why you have to keep this alive, to keep the hedges up. And the fear is the longer you're married, the more you kind of take each other for granted and think that those boundaries aren't going to exist anymore, and they do. David?
I just kept staring at her. We were at a public place, and I just kept staring at her, and finally she had to say, "Hey, man, what?" What's your name? And I still stare at her. But yeah, I mean, flirting's obviously good in a marriage.
Yeah.
You know.
So, anybody else? Give us an example of how you first met or drew the attention of your spouse. Where were you? What made her or him attractive to you that you wanted to pursue something more than what you were seeing?
I'll try to make it short. You know, big metropolis of Mark Trade, Turtle.
Huge.
700 in Turtle and 300,000 in Mark Trade. We didn't have much to do on weekends other than just ride around town and go to Cow Bar, which is a hamburger and Coke place where everybody gathered. Well, I was standing there in the parking lot, and Susie was from Turtle, and her and her friends drove down that night to drive around. And all of a sudden, this girl hollered at me and said, "Hey, Dennis, how you doing?" And that was her. And I looked around to the guys I was in the parking lot with, and I said, "Who's that girl?" And I said, "That's Susan White from Turtle." I said, "I like her. I'm going to go try to see what I can do." So anyway, we talked a little bit, and the very next night, me and the guys drove to Turtle, and she was there, and we found her and her other friends, and I said, "If y'all would go riding around with us, only if she could sit by me." And so that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, very good.
They were 12.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? We did get married young, and every time I tell that story, and they said, "They used to do that back then." You know, like I'm my great grandmother. You know, they used to get married at that age. I said, "No, they didn't." You know,
Yeah.
we didn't, but we did.
Yeah. Things do change. The dating patterns have changed. Technology has made it a lot easier for me to be more with Amy. You know, sometimes just a random text or a random call or a funny video, just anything of that nature has kept us be in touch. And those kind of things, I wouldn't take them are you looking for a mate that shares those same kinds of interests? I think a lot of times when we're maybe dating and looking for someone, we kind of overlook some of the things because of the infatuation of being with somebody. We call them red flags. But if they're not thinking, and if we don't stay that way, and just because we're married doesn't mean that red flags can't come up, that our interests start growing apart and we start separating. And so those are the things that are commonplace in our society, and then they don't align with the biblical standard of marriage and retaining a marriage. So it's easy to get out of one. So then you come into the concept of Christian counselors, make sure you're getting the right advice, making sure our circle of influence is Christian based, and so helping keep all of us accountable. So we're still in the first section of trying to put all of these into play before we start making some applications on some other active directive on what it means to protect it even more. So I wrote a note down here, and I will say when I went through this the first time and I read it again today, I kind of rolled my eyes at a couple of sections. And that's not saying that the book was wrong, but we have to be honest with ourselves. I'm a very my personality is in sales. It's outgoing. It's, I guess you would call it flirtatious. I call it being nice. But we have to recognize there is a difference in who my audience is and the perception that I'm giving off. And if we have to recognize the difference between saying something, depending on who it is. If I walk up to Lanille Salter and I put my arm around her and kiss her on the cheek and said, "Hey, you're looking good today," I don't think anybody, and I'm so glad to see you here, right? I don't think anybody would have any connotation that I'm doing the wrong thing, because I'm glad to see her. Can we agree to that? So, but the thing is, I think the danger is when we don't recognize the difference in the age of the person that we're trying to hug or give a compliment to, or whatever, however innocent we think that it is. I don't know the situation of the person that I'm talking to. Maybe they're enjoying my compliment. Maybe their marriage isn't what it needs to be. I don't know. So I'm very protective of not trying to cross that boundary anymore. I never did, but I don't think I did. Now, my flirting days pretty much quit in my mind when I found Amy, when I got married, because I didn't want to give anybody else the reason to think that I was trying to cross that line. That can't happen. I can't give anybody any room to think that I have any particular interest in that way in them. Me personally, I'm always mentioning Amy's name, or I don't think my wife would like that, or I don't think this. That's my hedge for me. I've never really called it a hedge, but that's my protective barrier, because I'm not interested. I don't even want to go there. Don't even think that we're going to pretend to go there. I'm not your guy. I'm not the one that you come to and tell me you're about how bad your husband is. I'm not that guy. You got to find a girlfriend for that one. And the guy comes to me, we're going to have a biblical connotation of where we are. So, but obviously that's, a different story. The book says she may not look, and I'm gonna change this a little bit. She or he may not look, feel, or sound the way he or she did when you first flirted years ago, but still want you to flirt with her or him. Is that true? So if that's the case, how are we doing that today? Those of us who have been married less than 10 years versus no matter what. How are we going to keep that alive, and how are you keeping it alive? Gentlemen, I know this is like pulling hair, but you're going to have to. I'm not going to give you an out. We're going to talk a little bit. Wayne?
first, started dating, Michelle, I asked her to be on the hold her hand, and her hand didn't work. I did take it as a grant, I know I was there to see her, but I would ask.
He was cute.
So, and those are things to keep in mind, is keep the asking. And so you get to know what each other's limits are. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with each other, and you're not pushing a boundary that you shouldn't push until you're married.
Yeah. When we come home from a day of work, do we recognize what the other person did that day? Do we ask and have a conversation about what you did that day? I'm not talking about a superficial one. That was good. What's for dinner? That's not what I'm talking about.
After you give him about 30 minutes to unwind, then you start asking. Don't ask right away or you get all negative. Let him wind down, do a little change clothes, all that, and then think of a kid or something, you know.
Yeah. That was a problem for me, because we all know our careers are very similar on that, and the days for anybody can get very tedious. Amy knows when I'm watching the news at my office all day, because I come home kind of agitated about life, the things that I can't control, right? So I can turn the channel or turn it off. And so my boundary, especially when the kids were younger, I had to take that 10 or 15 minutes at the office. I did it before I came home, because when I came home, I knew that wasn't going to work. It just didn't work for us, because the kids were running to see me. Amy wanted some adult conversation, not the guy spit up stuff. And I wasn't ready for that yet, right? So I had to put that for me before I came home. So when I came home, I was fully present, and that was my position, because it is difficult to separate the two. So anybody else with that?
I would say you can use active listening on this exploitation, because feeling validated that a person is listening to you, not just saying not paying attention, but them being interested in what you're having to say, them having feedback on what you're having to say, that can really bring you too close to her. And we've done that from the get-go, and that was a big part for me, was someone that actually, but I talk a lot, so having someone that actually listened to me and respond was a big deal.
And I will tell you, and I'm not trying to draw me, but you're exactly right. And there's a Progressive commercial out with that very topic right now, that they bring in substitutions, whether they're taking a picture because the kid's not smelling right. Let's bring up somebody. They got a new one out where they're dating, and the woman's trying to say something, and the guy's on his, yeah, whatever. Substitution, he gets up, brings in somebody else, and they have a meaningful conversation. It's the very same thing, because they're not present. They got their phones with them and those kind of things. So it's funny that you say that, because it's got to be a meaningful conversation. It's so interesting that when my kids left to really be an empty nester, it was really just me and Amy and our conversations, because when I would come home, you had the kids and their activities, and they talked 90% of the time, and Dad was kind of the filler. My role changed to the main guy. So my day would come home, how was your day? It was on. We went 10 minutes. Not that I wasn't interested, but I was like, okay, we're doing this. Yeah. But I was interested. But to be honest, that Amy loves details. She loves to talk about details and stuff, and I have the time. And why wouldn't I do that? She asked me, how was your day? Same old, same old. She really wants more than that from me. And I don't have to go on this as long with detail, but she would like to have more from me. And I recognized that over the years. And that wasn't always the case, because I didn't want to talk about it. I've talked all day. I don't want to talk no more. I want to talk to you, but about something else. But it's important to recognize in each other, as we continue to grow older together, to not lose what the interests are, and to keep that flirtatious spirit alive, that we can ways. And that's the evolving thing of it. 1 Corinthians 6, if y'all have your Bibles with you, let's turn there. Let's read a passage.
Chris, while we're turning there, I've told many people, as long as you stay in touch and in love with your spouse, you will enjoy every stage of your life. You hear people say, oh, when the kids go, it's going to be horrible. No, it's not horrible. It's what you said. If you love your wife, you stay communicating with her and him, and you still have interest, you still go out together. Every stage, I tell them, even now you've got grandkids, it's even another, better stage. Everyone's great, but it's got to be us two is the main topic.
I just now thought of it. My grandmother Ford, I was sitting on a couch, and my feet were barely hanging off the end of the couch, so I was little. And I was looking forward to something, and I know it's kind of a superficial comment at the time, but I was looking forward to something special that weekend coming up. And I said, man, I wish it was Friday, or I wish it was Saturday. And she said, honey, don't wish your life away. Just live today. And, at the time, I'm like, yeah. But it is true. You got to enjoy the stage that you're in at the moment. And because you said, well, I can't wait till my kids get out of diapers, it's going to be easier. No, it isn't easier. It's just as hard in a different kind of hard, or just as easy in a different, whatever you want to view that. It's just different. That's, I can't wait till they start driving. No, you don't. You don't want them driving. You don't want them dating. You don't want anything. You know what I mean?
No.
Where do you want them? I don't know where I want them. I know I want them home and safe and, they can take care of themselves without bothering me a whole lot. Whatever that means. But they cannot get in the way of who I devoted my life to from the beginning. We created this busy. We created this life, and we cannot lose or continue to date and cherish and whatever flirting you can say all you want to with the one that you committed to on that day. That hasn't changed, so the kids cannot get in the way. There's too many other distractions. So whatever challenge you there, I know it's been very difficult with a parent living in town and going to church, and Amy's 400 miles away. She gets a big dose of Fords. So she keeps it very much in perspective. So it's important for us to stay connected with her and not let kids, in-laws, they can't interfere with my commitment to her. They can't. I can't let that happen. And men, we have a responsibility to be the heads of our house, to make sure that you control the environment of our home. It's a God-given role that we have. It's an awesome responsibility to not let our kids and any other outside influence break into our home. Okay, enough lecture. We'll move on. Okay, 1 Corinthians 6. Can somebody read 18 through 20 for me? Jake, thank you.
Flee sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body.
So easy to read, but what does that really mean? I mean, we know we're supposed to flee from it. So how do we flee? Will you be able to recognize when to flee? Are we really in tune enough to know with our spouse and with other people? We don't know what their intentions are. Do we know when to flee? William?
I'm just going to read Proverbs, brother.
Yep.
Solomon knows. He said, drink water from your own cistern and running water from your own well. Should your fountains be dispersed, broad streams of water in the streets? Let there be only your own, and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. As a loving deer and a graceful doe, let her breast satisfy you at all times and always be enraptured with her love. For why should you, my son, be entrapped by an immoral woman and be embraced in the arms of the seductress? It just says it all. I just want to comment. That says it all.
When was the last time, husbands or wives, that you did something nice for your spouse without an expectation of return? I would generally say a lot of men do a lot of nice things for their spouse because they expect so. Whether it's a nice meal or whatever. I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. Men are normally, we conquer. We find something, whether it's a job, whether it's a promotion, whatever we do, we normally find a task that we want, something that we want, and we go try to get it. We accomplish a goal. We're problem solvers. When did we do something for our spouse that we didn't expect anything in return? This goes to women too.
I was just going to say, Dennis puts the toothpaste on my toothbrush almost every morning, and that's early in the morning.
I remember you saying that years ago. I never got that. I just called he had bad breath, trying to give him a hint. Yeah, I remember you saying that years ago. I'll never forget that.
I locked it in. You had to keep doing it.
Or sometimes you do some things to soften the blow. Like sometimes you shop a little bit too much, so you go to the men's department and you get.
Now that's something in return, though.
You know, I used to teach family studies to teenagers, and we talked about relationships and marriage and family, and there was a whole unit, and it was called the Circle or something. I can't remember what it was called, but anyway. It was basically, you do the right thing, you treat your family right, you be in a good mood, and they will reciprocate that. Mm-hmm. And you will stay in that cycle of good, and most of the time everybody's happy, but you wake up, you're in a horrible mood, the babies are crying, you are short with your husband, so he's short back, you all go your separate ways, you're in a bad mood, and then you get on that circle, and you can't get off. And so if you don't think about it like, if I do this for him, he'll do this for me, but you just think about it as, this is our way of life, this is the culture in our home, we all treat each other with respect, we all love each other, I submit to him, he treats me like he should as a wife, then you're always on that good cycle, and it's not keeping score. And it's just, before you know it, you're years down the road, and that respect has grown, and the love has grown, and your kids have seen that, and it's just a good cycle to be on, and you just, I can see a circle in my mind where it just continues on with good years.
Yeah, that's a great lead in, Jen, because this is the one thing that we have in fear of losing. Everything I've read about this class and the proof sources, everything in any kind of Google search or when everything's about an emotional connection. And when you lose that, we're in danger of losing what we've attained. And that's a great comment because you're continuing to grow. And are we growing together, or are we growing in animosity and keeping score? And I can't believe I'm controlling everything. I'm doing everything. And I know that I'm gonna tell on Amy and I hate to say it, but I'm going to call her out. She brings me coffee every morning in bed. She does. She does. So, now, the easy thing for me to say is, Well, she gets up earlier for work than I do anyway. She goes into the kitchen, makes herself some coffee. She has to come back right by the bed to go into the bathroom to get work. So I could say, well, it's not really a big extra effort because she's not like repeating steps and doing all this extra stuff. But the thought process of her thinking of me first thing in the morning puts me in my place because I'm already thinking she's already outdone me. She's already serving me or thinking about me first thing because I can hear the coffee cup hit beside my bed, and sometimes I'm not even rolled over. And it makes me want to do something for her that day. And sometimes when we've gone to bed, not in necessarily a great place. We're not fighting, but we're just not maybe in a good place. I hear that coffee cup hit, I'm like, crap, you're such an idiot. It really wasn't that big of a deal, right? So I don't have any reservation that kind of drops my guard that whether or not I felt like I was wrong, if I felt like I needed an apology, it really broke down that barrier for me to say, that ain't worth that. That's not worth that. And so that's kind of a daily routine, and I'm not saying y'all have to do that. But I also want to feel like, and I hope that I am, and you can ask Amy that, but I still try to tell her thank you every time she does it. I appreciate the effort. I may not do it every day. I try. I don't want her to ever take that for granted, and I don't want to take that for granted either. And I don't know what your daily routine is, but don't forget each other, hopefully on a daily basis, of what your spouse means to you. William?
Okay. I'm going to tell off on more. Linda's still working. I'm not because I'm retired. She gets up at 5 o'clock every morning. She leaves at 6:30. She likes for her car to be cranked up. She likes for it to be cranked up. She likes for it to be positioned in a certain spot. Turns around. She's real particular about this. And it has to be facing the road. All she got to do is jump in and drive off. Okay, so I make sure that happens. She leaves at 6:30, so she's cranked up about 6:15. I crank it up. Turn her around and make sure. And she likes to kiss before she leaves.
Yeah.
So you got to have to kiss. You got to turn her out. Yeah, you
when you done that, and he's ready for me to kiss him, I'm like, hey, ain't got time to play with you. But I always kiss him, play out. But I tell him that I got time to play. I kiss him before I leave, but I do tell him that. I got time to play with you.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
But that's a great thing to do though every day, and know, and you and Linda can appreciate each other in that aspect of reciprocation, to know that you've kept your boundaries there, to know that you're keeping that emotional connection to each other.
And that's why,
even when she don't have time to play with you, William.
And that's why we keep each other smiling.
Yeah, that's awesome though. And how long y'all been married?
43 years.
Well, that's awesome. Who had their hand up? I missed somebody.
I did. I was just going to reiterate that, the coffee is like your thing because you're acts of service. And you have to know what each other's love language is, because, if mine was words of affirmation, then a cup of coffee by my bed wouldn't mean anything if you didn't tell me that you loved me or you didn't tell me this. Or, you really got to know each other well enough to serve them in the way that they want to be served. This is funny, but cards mean nothing to you, really. I mean, you tried to develop that. There was a high school girlfriend that wrote all these words, but then she acted another way. So Chris was like stated on cards at that point. So if I continually gave him a card every day, he'd be like, hey. So you have to know that about each other.
Yeah. And I have changed a little bit about the cards, depending on the source, and I'm not saying that I don't, but Amy's right. It burned me that someone would send me all these nice cards, and they're actions spoke differently. And so it really turned me on. But we didn't know this about each other when we first got married. I mean, this is a learned over the years through communication and trial and error, and you know, and Amy she writes me cards, and they're meaningful to her because it's obviously it's different. But it is different. But she doesn't write me a card on every occasion because she knows that I know how she feels about me, but she does other things besides writing cards. I am an act of service kind of person. Don't tell me, do it. That's just kind of how I, you know.
Chris, I've got about 12 to 15 pairs of underwear.
Where are we going with this?
But I only wear about 5 pairs. I never see the 10s in my drawer because those same 5 pairs get back in my drawer every 5 days.
Yeah. Wearing the same one.
I mean, she's always just, you know, making sure that I'm adequately served and I'm properly dressed and all that kind of stuff. And so that means a lot, you know. And I'm glad I started that way, but that's about my underwear.
I was gonna say, if you're just starting out, sometimes it's hard to communicate what your love language is, right? Whether you're not a big communicator or something like that, sometimes it's hard to even know what your love languages are. So sometimes it's good to watch. So, for example, you know, if I see he's a physical touch type person, wants to pull the hair or things like that, that usually means he likes a physical touch. So we just walking over, patting him on the back, or, you know, rubbing his shoulder, things like that. You can watch what they do. If they're giving you cards, maybe they want to receive cards. You know, it's words of affirmation, things like that. So you can kind of watch them to see what their love language is, so that you can reciprocate that to them.
A lot of times, and sometimes you have to spell it out for the man. What do you want from me? I don't think we ought to shy away from that as husband and wives, to be direct. Sometimes men, we need to hear it. What exactly do you want? And have those conversations and communicate and keep that emotional involvement, because if you want me to do it, tell me. And then I'll continue to know that that's what you're going to do. And this is funny because even after 31 years of marriage for me and Amy, she went the other day and she pulled out the drawer to the trash and just walked off. So I came back in and I looked at the trash and I just shut the door back. Oh, she goes, oh, I thought you were going to take the trash out. I said, no, you don't be thinking that way. I mean, if that's what you want me to do, tell me. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, still, and we laugh about it because it's not that big of a deal because it's just the two of us. I'm not looking for that hint, right? I mean, that's just not what I'm looking for. If you want me to take trash out, hey, would you mind taking the trash out? Yeah, sure. No problem.
We don't take hints.
Yeah, we're not good. We're not good at that, right? I mean, it's good that, you know, if you want something for, and I'm not saying, and men, we should be more receptive in our spouses, and women's vice versa. So if I send you I said, hey, what do you want for your birthday? Nothing. We all know good and well that is not what that means. As we've gotten older, she'll send me a picture. I would like to have this. You know, and we joke and tease about that because, you know, you've been married long enough to know, but I think that's kind of flirtatious to me, that we can joke about those kind of things because it sets an expectation that I am expecting something. It may not be this, but I'm expecting something. And we should be looking to do that anyway. It doesn't have to be money. You might attempt to make a cake with your kids, or bake a cake or something without your kids. You know, we can't. I see Amy laughing. I wasn't gonna go here, but this is funny. The kids made me and the kids made Amy a birthday cake, and they wanted to decorate it. So we got the thing on the top, and they put Amy's name on the top of it, MF. I said, Kendall, that's Mommy's name. Mommy pulled her. Let's cut it. We ain't taking a picture of this one and posting it anywhere. We're gonna cut it. I said, okay, I got it. But it was the time and the effort. It wasn't about money. We didn't have any money. No, it was the time and the effort with the kids, and we did something for mom, and we made cards and they colored and those kind of things. So to her, that was probably more valuable than something sparkly. Thank goodness. So the thing is, hopefully we don't lose that even today. And it may not look like the cake, but it may be something else. The time is the one thing you can't get away with your spouse. When it's gone, it's gone. David?
When your wife says she wants nothing, you to your point, they don't mean that. When I first started my business, I was working a lot, like 80 hours, no money, zero money, couple little kids, and her birthday was coming up, and she was like, I want nothing. And she knows this, we know the story, and well, I got nothing. I got zero. And my wife does not cry much, she's not high maintenance, she's very low maintenance. I worked next door to a bakery. I had an account there where they sent me a bill every month, and I paid them. I didn't even get anything from there. And she cried and said, I can't believe you didn't even get me a cake. You worked next door to a bakery. Well, my in-laws were coming up that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I got some really good advice from my father-in-law. He said, hey, when they say they don't want anything, they don't mean that. And I know that's a joke, but I've never made that mistake again. But it is about the communication and learning from each other, or learning from your mistakes and getting grace from those mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
But the emotional connection is huge. We talk about communication all the time, and it's kind of become cliche. But if you don't really communicate with each other and learn each other's faults and likes, you're going to have a tough marriage. There's a lot of very successful marriages in here. I know a lot of happy marriages, and that's what makes it happy. Learning from each other, getting grace.
Yeah, good point. I hope. Is there any gentleman in here that really believe that they don't want anything for any special occasion?
Well, I was dumb.
Yeah,
I still am.
Well, I know what you mean though, because like I know where you're coming from, because that would be a reasonable expectation in your world. When our wives say, I don't want anything, they generally mean what they say, except when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But we should want to do something. I mean, it may just be a handwritten card and a cupcake.
Yeah.
It don't have to be the cake. It needs to be something, some kind of something. So.
If you're at the dinner with a colleague, and she's like, oh, you'll need to bring me home as a finger cake. Finger something.
Yeah.
You're going to go get some for yourself finger something, and she says you don't want it.
Yeah, and I seriously don't want a gift. I want time for my kids. I want presents. I want sincerity. And I want positivity. I hate negative people. I don't know why I got off on that tangent. But as we get older, I think we always try to figure out a way that I'm trying to keep Amy happy, because it's just us two now. Because now this chapter of our life is beginning. There's always another chapter. Then, hopefully someday we'll have grandkids. There'll be another chapter. And everything's always evolving. But nothing gets in the way of our emotional connection. Liam?
You just hit a very, very good point in marriage. You said, I'm just making sure I keep Amy happy. That's what I've learned. I just make sure I keep her. Good point.
I'm going to circle back because I only got 5 more minutes. I never did get an answer from the question I asked earlier. When was the last time you did something for your spouse? I really want an answer to this question. Because, and you don't have to answer me if you don't, I would like one. But I think this is the basis of the point that I'm trying to prove. if we're not continuing to find a way to do something for our spouse, are we not potentially opening up the door for unhappiness, for someone else to creep in, for somebody else to do something special for my spouse because I'm not? I mean, I don't want to give an inch to anybody. And it may not be daily. Okay? I would encourage you to, if nothing else, a simple text doesn't take 20 seconds. Hang on, we got some hands flying up now.
Well, Friday, we got up and we drove 6 hours to visit David's dad in Arkansas. And so he really loves the Ryder Cup. Like, that's his favorite golf event of the year.
Not this year.
Not this weekend.
Not this year.
So he jokingly said, I think I'll just tell Dad that I can't come this weekend. I got a really important golf tournament. That was a joke.
And
I said, just let me drive and you watch it on your phone. So I drove the whole 6 hours so he could watch the Ryder Cup. So that's what I did for him.
But see, that's two things though. You went so he could watch it, but he didn't skip going to see his dad over the. So there's a couple of layers there.
So I got 2 points.
That's right. You got 2 for 1 on that one. Look at that. You didn't know what you did. Who's next? William.
It's like Linda, it was like competition. Or it's like figure out who go beat each other doing something for one another. She does something, I do something. Okay, she does. I mean,
yeah.
So it's always fresh in our marriage. We always try to figure out how to do something for one another.
That's a good rule, though. Who had their hands up wanting to speak before we leave?
Find out what the other person doesn't like to do. And do it.
Yeah.
She doesn't like to drive into the car wash. She checks out something she does.
They yelled at me last time.
Car wash? What, you hit the gas or something?
No, you just put it, like, I didn't know what to do with, like, neutral and brake and all that kind of stuff. And he was screaming at me, and I'm like, I don't want to do it again.
So Wayne does it for you?
Yeah, we played each other's houses, so we had to go home, get the other car, and go back and do the next one. So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. One more.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I can't remember the last time I, like, did our laundry. Like, he is really, he does a hate laundry. I worked in college, I worked at Old Navy, and so it felt like laundry 24/7. So I despise laundry. And I'll do it. I mean, I help, but I do the kids' clothes, I will say that, but I can't tell you the last time I hung up, like, clothes. And so he does really well at helping me, like, at home, and, you know, I do other chores, not, you know, I don't not do anything, but he does that because he knows I don't like it at all.
I don't think we have to apologize for doing the stereotypical roles of what we're trying to do, and he recognizes that out of you, because Old Navy, people just throw clothes everywhere. Awful. JR?
She took care of the kids all day yesterday, so I go to the Ole Miss LSU game.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. Good job. Thank y'all.
Good job, Jared. I thought you were going to brag on yourself. Way to go. Way to go.
We ran out of time. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ran out of time.
Sweet.
I know you're
All right. You want to keep it? You got one at home?
I do. I just got it.
I got 3.
and I know your parents are crazy about it.
Yes, we're gonna go up there next week for my
Okay.
father.
Okay.
First time to do a long car ride with her.
Oh,
We'll see how that
fun.
goes.
Oh, man.
See how that goes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's so sweet.
But,
Good comment.
with all the experience in the room, I thought it was just,
Oh, it's okay.
I'm aware of how it sounds when a young person tries to talk about marriage.
Well,
I can just listen.
well, the thing is, there's experience for all of you. If you're doing it now, it reminds us of you're doing it. You've been married for a long time. Yeah. Jack, how's Marion? All good?
We got third at the state for a band. Or not at the state, sorry, take it back. We went to the bronze competition.
Okay.
It's like a lot of divisions. There was like state 38 up to 7, and then we played third.
What do you play? Awesome. That's awesome.
How many people in your band?
We're marching at least on here.
That's a good size band. Wow, very cool. I grew up doing all that stuff with my sister March. She marched in the band. Play trumpet too.
I heard you got called up in the company.
How's it going? I'm doing well. Yeah.
Josh?
Well, not you. At least I'm not. No, how you doing? Nipples, fingers.
I am today.
You know, I'm about to say stress free. I don't have your I'm mental. And mental. I just got rid of one. Yeah. How the boys doing?
We're good. We're not sick.
Are they playing?
I did that all earlier.
That fun?
Yeah.